Hey, Matt, can you hear me? Because I can't hear a thing going on there now.
My husband. Yeah, Katie just arrived, so we're going to start the meeting soon.
Okay, I can hear now.
Yeah. Look down there. Yeah. Muted. Here, we're open.
I think you have to press the button on the push.
Bottom one
push,
there.
yeah.
Okay, got
Now
it.
it's on.
All right, I'm back with a picture. I'm back with a picture and a voice now.
You have a picture and a voice now?
I have a picture.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see you guys.
That's great.
Good.
Good.
We see you.
We're in good
You
shape.
can?
Okay.
Yeah, we
Oh,
can
yeah.
see you.
We see you just fine.
All right. Well, that's
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and start the meeting, call it to order, and call the roll. So Mr. Dillon,
Here.
Ms. Papparell,
Here.
Mr. Chandler,
here remotely.
okay, Ms. Marino,
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Okay, very good. Okay, the first item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. Thank you, Joy, for pulling them together. And I know they've all been circulated. Did anyone have any feedback?
I did not.
No.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Right. So the motion has been made by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Dillon. We'll call the vote. Mr. Dillon,
Approval of meeting minutes. I approve.
good. Papparell,
I approve.
Mr. Chandler,
I approve.
Ms. Marino,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Okay, very good. All right, the third item on the agenda is public hearings. We don't have any scheduled for this evening, so we can go through, just pass by that. The next item, which is really the meat of our agenda, I think, is the discussion of the loan document and the transaction workflow. So, you know, that we've all received copies of the now basically final documents. My understanding is that our role now is to determine whether we are prepared to sign the loan document. And this is this would obviously be our first major decision. And I think maybe we should just have, without any motion on the floor, just some open discussion about some of the issues that we've discussed in the past. I think that, in previous meetings, we've talked about the process for these reviews, our interest in having counsel, setting up the authority to be an effective organization. The documents are essentially the same as what were presented in November. But I don't believe that, because we've all been busy getting our bylaws and getting to know each other and getting the authority set up, that we've had a lot of opportunity to discuss it. So I would just like to open the floor to any concerns or questions that people might have.
If I might, I just have a couple of questions here. One is that on the deed of trust, it says that the town manager is the trustee.
Rosemary, could you give us a page, please?
14.
Thank you.
And it's the deed of trust. So I don't know if that was on the original documents which we were sent. I'm not sure. I didn't recall having seen that. Could very well have been there. And I feel a little bit unsettled about that. This is nothing personal, with Matt, but I just feel unsettled that the town manager, regardless of whoever the town manager is, would be the trustee as opposed to perhaps the mayor or the chair of the Economic Development Authority. It seems to me that that might be a more appropriate party as opposed to an employee of the town. I don't know if that's can be changed now or if all of these things are now carved in stone, which I think they may be. And which gives me like just further pause because as you know, I felt from the beginning that we should have the authority, which is an independent body, should have an open dialogue with its attorney. So I feel that it seems to me that the matter of who the attorney is and as well as any communications with the attorney have been taken away from us completely. And I don't think that that's healthy for an independent authority in this town or any other town. I think it's a little peculiar, actually.
Did you want to say something? Do we collect questions and then go back through them or?
I think there's at least two questions in there, and one is the matter of the trustee, and the second is access to an attorney.
Mhm.
Is that it?
Immediate question.
I just want to make sure that that was
I mean,
bulleted it out.
every deal that I've ever been involved in and legal situation, and I've been involved in many over the years. The client had a direct dialogue with its attorney. I mean, sometimes it was via an agent or someone else, but usually everybody at some point got on a conference call with the attorney. And, these are not expensive conversations to have, but they're pretty pro forma. I think one of the things that we could have addressed if we spoke to the attorney is, and again, I don't know the answer to it, is how, common is it that the town manager would be a trustee the trustee on the deed of trust as opposed to a town official or an authority official.
Now, partly, I think it's important to understand the framework of the whole deal, right?
Yeah.
I think the piece that we are responsible for signing is the loan agreement.
Mhm.
Just having taken a closer look. And the deed of trust, I believe, is with the town and the state and the developer. So to me, this comes down to a sort of basic issue that we've raised before, which is that I think we're all new at this and it's a complex, maybe even if it's boilerplate, it's new to us. And so I think a little guidance and assurance would be helpful, right? So
That's a good thing.
that's sort of where I come down now. That, and I know there are other issues I'm not even thinking of at this moment.
So excuse me, you said the deed of trust should be between the town, the state, and the developer. Are we not?
Deed of trust is just simply filed with the county at the time this deal is closed. There's no signature other than the notary.
Okay.
Matt, could you give us a review of as I understand it, the three documents that you've been working on? The last one apparently is the document that we're looking to consider signing this evening.
Well, actually, yours was the first one that was prepared back on August 20th, we sent to the lawyer the 4 template documents that we were required to have executed in order to do this deal. The loan document, because the terms of the loan were set by the grant, the promissory note really hasn't changed. We put one more default condition in there would be the if their insurance is canceled, then that would be considered a default. But the remaining portion of it, the dollar amount, the terms, we wanted to outline how the dollar amount was calculated. That wasn't in there because the first document said $1 million. And if they don't spend $1 million, they're obviously not going to pay back $1 million. So we put that clarification in. Other than that, the terms are exactly the same as the beginning. So that was the first document. The template went to our lawyer, and the lawyer prepared it and sent it back on August 24th. The same thing was true with the deed of trust. He prepared that. Obviously, I didn't have any input on the legal language, so whether my title was in there, I truly have no voice in that.
Mhm.
So the attorney put that in. The next one is the restriction agreement. Basically, the restriction agreement says what they're allowed to do with the building and how long they have to own the building and that type of thing. So those were dictated by DHCD. So our attorney spun it, put our information on it, and then passed it forward. And then probably the most difficult one was the performance agreement. The performance agreement is between DHCD and PSP. So that agreement, it took a while to hammer through. And we finally got there, I think, last Friday or so. DHCD is forwarding that with DocuSign to the developer.
The town's also a signatory, right? To the performance agreement.
Yes.
So do we have a copy of the new performance agreement yet? I don't think we do. Is it in there?
It's in, start
No.
No.
and in the packet.
Yeah.
Oh,
on
yes,
page
yes, yes.
10.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
And
got
then
it.
my emails to Cory about alterations to it are on page 13. So that's where that language came from.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, looking at the performance agreement, some discussion was going on before the meeting started, but looking at page number 10, item number 4 talks about 20 full-time equivalents within 6 months of occupancy.
Right, and then the language that was changed said,
Where is that?
in the on page 13, about a third of the way down.
Okay.
It says, an independent contractor or 1099 employee who engages their role as a primary occupation is equivalent to 1 FTE. And that made the developer happy because the nature of their business isn't having employees. So even if they work 1 hour a week and they're a 1099 employee, but that's their primary role, then that would count towards the 20.
So this makes it much easier for them to be able to meet that restriction. And if they didn't meet the restriction, they'd have major problems going forward with the project.
Right. She already,
Thank you.
just so you know, she already has 40 1099 realtors that work with her.
Well, there's some other people, as I understand it, that would go in on the first floor as well. But they're not going to come anywhere close to 20 people.
No, but between the
Yeah.
two of them, they would, and
Yes.
and if that building is vacated for the second tenant, any jobs that come in their account.
Thank
So-
you.
Is it the state sets that 20 full-time employees? So that, and 20 is the minimum in that particular building? I guess,
20 is the minimum for the grant. I actually don't
Uh-huh.
know whether it's for the building or whether it's just standard language.
or for any of the grants, if it differs from grant to grant.
Right, I just simply don't know.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for verifying?
They're required to put documents together and, they have annual, compliance reporting that they have to do. Upfront, it's a little bit more than annually.
Mhm.
As I understand it as well, when you put your application in for the program, for the grant, you have to show how many full-time employees, or for that matter, employees that you're going to have. And if I'm not mistaken, that's what the application showed, is how many employees, not full-time.
Uh-huh. Well,
What,
20
what,
is,
what Ann Kyle's concern is there, and I think all of it's been said, is that in that particular business, her number of what you would deem in a normal operation as full-time employees is minimum and doesn't meet that. But with all of her realtors, all of her sales associates are independent contractors.
Mhm.
You know, so the verification that she needed, which I think she's obtained, is that all of those 1099 people, instead of K1 people, are included and qualify for the 20 full-time employees. Isn't that kind of what the issue was, Matt?
Yes.
my,
And
my,
that-
my concern wouldn't be so much for the Lilliston building as would be for the Foskey's building, because I would be concerned that if they have a single tenant in there, and I don't know what their plans are or what they'll end up with, that a building like that may not have 20 full-time employees. You know, and so I don't know what there is in the terms of that being at all negotiable.
What
I
you're
mean, we
doing.
haven't crossed that bridge
I
yet,
was gonna
but that
say-
would be,
Yeah.
that would be my concern. You know, whether it's for them or for anybody else, you know, depending upon the particular building, you don't know if you can, you know, create a situation where there's 20 full-time employees. That's a lot of people.
I wouldn't envision that for other projects that standard would be held, that would be at that level. And looking around the state, they're all different sizes and kinds of
Mhm.
projects. So they come back with the consultancy, if you will, when you're putting these projects together, putting the application together, you have a pretty good idea of what your requirement's going to be when you're talking with the folks in Richmond about how they're going to view your application. And they want you to be successful.
Mhm.
So they're trying to find ways to
Yeah.
be able to work that through. So they help you with the process.
Do they at all take into account if you're also creating housing, the, you know, the value of that housing as a quid pro quo against the FTE?
Have no idea.
We put it in as mixed use, but they primarily care about the businesses that are added to downtown.
They're looking for jobs then?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So in the case of the Lilliston building, I think we're all fairly confident that Ann Kyle's brokerage certainly meets the standard. I mean, whether they're sitting there all day, you know, in the office working, which realtors don't do.
Right.
And because they're 1099, they're included, they're not excluded. So it feels like a green light.
Well, that looks good. I also had a question about the transaction cycle. The last thing says that the contractor pays the EDA loan payment, and I think that that should be the borrower.
Hang on, I lost myself.
Okay.
There it is, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
For creating that, by the way.
The blue circle.
it's a blue circle.
Yeah,
That's-
you
that's-
could change it from contractor to borrower, that's no
Okay.
problem at all.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure about
No,
that.
you're exactly right.
Whose chart is that?
I think that's
That's the
Matt.
one I requested when we were in closed session because we were talking about
Yeah.
the flow of funds and just verbally, it
rest-
was hard to follow. So I
Yeah, the rest of
appreciate
it-
the
rest of
visual
it made sense.
and good catch.
So looking at loan agreement specific.
I did not.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Would you like me to get you some water?
Oh, I have a whole thing of tea. Okay.
I think most of it was very straightforward. I mean, really, my main question was about the trustee. I didn't understand how that got.
Can we go back to that? So,
The trust, can I just interject something there? I mean, Katie kind of said, I thought something about that document really wasn't, it was more the town's concern. But but based on what Rosemary was saying, it's not unusual to just have more than one trustee in a deed of trust. Most of the time, I personally have noticed that there's at least one or two. If it's an issue, you could add the mayor and the town manager.
assuming the mayor would be willing.
Well, it would change, the actual person, I guess, would change if the person holding the office changes, like if there's another town manager or another mayor, that's going to change. But
Yeah.
I think there should be more than one person. I don't know I don't know the document, so I'm assuming there can be more than one
I'm not
person.
sure what the role of the trustee is. Matt, do you know?
I'm sorry.
What is the role of the trustee?
I
on it?
have absolutely no idea.
So-
I can reach out to Eric tomorrow and find out.
The
Bill
role
knows.
of the trustee is to activate the foreclosure procedure on the borrower when they're in default, and to make sure that all the terms and conditions, are met. I mean, that's basically all the trustee can do, or what they're going to do.
The role
Sounds
of
like
the
a
trustee.
coveted position.
It starts on the bottom of page 15. It says, in the event of any default hereunder and for the duration thereof, the trustee shall be entitled to take possession of the properties described, to dispossess the owner and owners thereof, collect all rents, profits, yada, yada, yada. And also, the trustee is also appointed the sole and exclusive agent to receive rents from the property.
And the trustee, as you pointed out, serving in the role of town manager, it's pretty clear there in the first paragraph.
Yeah.
So to your point, it doesn't matter if it's Matt or whomever takes the position.
Rents from the property?
Yeah, I guess it's like if a property goes into receivership, the court appoints a receiver to administer the property. That's my assumption.
Okay.
So again, I think it's a legal question, do we ask the attorney? Is it common for there to be one trustee? Is it common for it to be the town manager? Is it, usually an appointed, an elected official in the town or somebody appointed to the EDA? I don't know.
Given
No.
that the attorney prepared this document, I would say that that's the advice you're going to get back.
I personally don't see where it's that big of a deal. I mean,
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on
Okay.
As a member of the EDA, I certainly wouldn't want that responsibility.
it. Yeah, no, we don't. I can tell you, you don't.
It falls on us anyway.
And that's probably why he didn't put the mayor in there, because I guarantee an elected mayor probably isn't going to want to fulfill
Hmm.
that either.
By the way, he's in the room, so.
I saw his wife, so I didn't see Fletcher.
Well, back to your question, Rosemary, about communication with the attorney. That has been happening through the town manager, communicates with the attorney, and then the town manager gives us the attorney's interpretation. I think I would be, I guess at this point, we're assuming that Eric Gregory is our attorney.
Well, the authority hasn't retained Eric Gregory yet. I mean, it's up to us whether we want to retain Eric Gregory, or we want to interview Eric. I mean, what I would do is interview Eric and maybe one or two other attorneys.
Well, he's listed on the documents.
Well, because he drafted all of these documents, because
Yeah.
most of this happened before there was an EDA.
So are you still proposing that it sounds like you're proposing that we make an effort to retain additional legal counsel?
Not to retain, but I think that we should at least interview additional counsel and, decide as a group, having interviewed, Eric Gregory, he should be interviewed by us, and interviewing other counsel who the authority, chooses to retain as its attorney. I don't know. I mean, maybe Eric Gregory is fine. I looked at his firm. There's not a lot of attorneys in there, because I thought maybe it could be an attorney in Eric Gregory's firm or whatever. But there doesn't seem to be very many attorneys there.
Well, based on the last communication about the lack of conflict of interest and a variety of other concerns, I mean, I'm comfortable using the town's attorney, and I'd be willing to put that
Well,
up for vote.
Eric Gregory is saying there's not a conflict of interest. I don't know if another attorney would say the same thing.
Really a client's call to decide
Yeah.
if there's a conflict.
Yep.
The client's call.
It doesn't cost anything to interview an attorney. They don't charge a fee for that.
I see the dilemma as this. Everyone wants this transaction to finally get done, right? It's been kicking around for a long time.
Absolutely.
It's a fantastic project. We really want these folks to be well-funded and do the work that we envisioned for a long time. So no question about that. But on the conflict in my head is that this is our first agreement. Oh, sorry. Yeah. This is the first agreement that we will adopt. And we have not had any direct interaction with an attorney on our behalf, right? So we've been assured that the town's attorney says it's fine. And he may be 100% correct, but we don't have the wisdom to know if that's true or not. And so I know that this is a very small entity. We have this one project. We may have another project on the horizon, but I just had questions about this that I would feel confident if a lawyer said to me, I've reviewed this. It's completely consistent with all the agreements I've seen around the state. And I have no, based on my vast expertise, there's nothing controversial here. And I feel comfortable. And then maybe we could decide to waive the conflict, but we just haven't had that conversation. And we've talked about having our own counsel 3 meetings now.
Yes.
So that suggests to me that there's some discomfort. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm just putting that out for discussion.
My discomfort is the council is responsible for 3 employees. That's the town manager, the chief of police, and the town attorney. As Matt indicated in an email, the town attorney fees are being raised $10,000. So I said to a member of council, and I don't think the EDA has caused that $10,000 increase. I think it was another issue that caused that. If we do decide that Eric Gregory is our attorney, then I would like to see a separate breakdown of EDA with town separate.
He said he would include it in the bill for the town, so there'd be no charge for the EDA. He said if we wanted to allocate it out, his price isn't gonna go up, but allocate a few $100s a month, but he's gonna go up $10,000 because of, like you say, another local issue. But no, he's not gonna charge the EDA for his services.
So he's not willing then to separate out billing for EDA and billing for,
He can, I mean, if you want to pay,
Yeah.
it's all coming from the same place. I mean, they're gonna reach their hand out to ask the town council to fund them for $5,000 for an attorney,
right?
and then they're gonna turn around and pay our attorney $5,000.
Well, that's not quite true. I asked the town council to give us working capital of $5,000. But that $5,000 doesn't necessarily mean that it's going towards legal. I mean,
5,000 is an example. That wasn't
yeah,
your
5,000, no, 5,000, listen, $5,000 is just a number. It's just working capital. So we're supposed to have a separate
We passed
attorney
that motion, yeah.
and we're supposed to have an independent CPA. Now, the CPA can be the town CPA also, but we're supposed to do a separate filing and create separate
Accounting.
financial statements. So, you know, that, I'm assuming that that $5,000 will cover both. And then some, maybe. So it's not $5,000 to, you know, hand over to any attorney, whatever
fee
the
for
number is.
CPA is 35
$3,500 a year for the town.
for the town to add the EPA to our financial statements.
So then that's $3,500 of the $5,000. So then it's $1,500 left for legal.
which is
That's what you're
probably
saying.
honestly.
Yeah.
And it's zero for legal if you choose to use town's attorney.
Well, I think that doesn't seem right to me somehow. It doesn't seem to like really work in my mind. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. But I'd still like the opportunity, and I still think that the EDA should have the opportunity to interview Eric Gregory directly and also ask whatever questions we have to ask, and also to interview whatever other attorneys we may come up with to see who we feel would best serve the towns and our needs. I mean, the
So-
town's needs, you know, apropos of the EDA.
So if we put some process behind that, we would have to come up with a list of questions for the attorney.
Yeah, we
And
have
then
a
we-
list of questions already. I mean, I sent out a list of questions a while ago. We could add or subtract from that.
And then engage an attorney, source one. Have you done anything in that regard?
No, because I haven't gotten past the point of, let's talk to Eric Gregory. You know, I feel uncomfortable personally with, you know, what I feel is always having somebody, you know, Matt's really great at what he does, but I feel uncomfortable with having somebody, you know, who's always between our communications with the attorney. I'm not used to that.
Right. Well, you have a lot more experience than I do in this type of thing. I personally don't see the downside, but if you could help define it, I think that would be good. I mean, like worst case scenario.
Well, the downside to always having, we have a EDA authority here. The authority has 5 people on it. 6 people, I'm sorry. 6 people on it, soon to be, I guess, the 7th. And I think that there is a real benefit for those people to have a direct communication with their attorney. And I'm not saying drive up, you know, your attorney's hours, because you never want to do that. Nobody does that. You don't have, you know, people emailing and calling, you know, just, you know,
I agree with
Racking up the
that.
minutes.
I
yeah,
agree.
racking up, you just don't do that.
Right.
But, you know, normally what you do is you have you know, you'll have a Zoom meeting with them or a telephone conference call or something, you know, just to interview them and to go over some basic questions. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Hmm.
And you see what sort of communication you have with them.
I think it's important that the EDA communicate with the attorney.
I mean,
Well, is this dialogue that we're having right now, that we've had it almost from day one about the attorney? I'm kind of like with Jake. I personally am not opposed to using the town's attorney. I have no personal clue as to, you know, what the conflicts may or may not be. I defer to our chairman's background that she seems to do this. But are we looking to put everything on hold now? This loan and everything? Is
No.
that where we're going with this? Or are we talking about moving along with that and then down the road interviewing and looking at the possibility of where we need to hire an attorney or use the current one?
That's a great clarifying question, because I was under the assumption that we were holding up
No,
signed
no,
on a document for this.
no.
If we can do that and then work things
Yeah.
in parallel, I think it's a lot more tenable.
Well, I'm sure we want to sign a document that we haven't had an attorney tell us is okay. I know the attorney has told the town it's okay, and the other parties that it's okay. Now, what I would like to say though is, because I've been racking my brain trying to think of some kind of interim, solution for this, and the only thing I could think was that perhaps given the general familiarity with the project, lack of controversy, the strong support in the town, blah, 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 that perhaps we could request, and I'm putting this out as a suggestion, perhaps we could request a memo from the town's attorney about answering any of the questions we've raised and direct it to us. And that might give us enough information that we'd all have a level of comfort. We could then at that time waive the conflict, which I think is important before we agree that that person is our attorney, and let it be, because really we don't have a lot on our agenda, right? This is important and it's very, very time sensitive and nobody wants to derail it, I think. So I think that's really, really something to keep in mind. But I also think that it's, our first official action and it's important to do it well. So that's just something as an idea. We did allow ourselves to have special meetings, so we could do that to, pass a resolution, boom, get it done, come sign it, done.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I believe we have two serious issues to look at. And one is we need to move forward, in my personal opinion, to get this document signed this evening, agreed to and signed this evening so that the project can move forward. I think everybody that's been involved with the project wants to make it happen for all the right reasons, with utmost good faith on how we got here and why we're here and what we're looking to do. So that's one thing I think we need to look at. In looking at the attorney, if folks would rather sit down and talk with the current attorney, the town's attorney, and ask the right question, ask whatever questions we have. And if we want to look to for somebody else, we can easily do that. But it's a separate issue, in my view.
Here,
So
here.
you're saying we could sign these documents and then explore the attorney?
If I need to put forward a motion, Madam Chair, I would move
do
that
that.
this project move through the facility of the EDA to be approved and this contract so that you can sign it. I don't know what kind of terminology you need, but to move the approval of this particular project.
I think you need a specific motion to sign the promissory note on behalf of the EDA.
That's my motion.
If it requires a second, I'm in. But one thing I would like, just while we're on the topic, the list of questions, I must have missed it. There's, a flurry of information that we've all consumed, leading up to this point. Could you recirculate that list of questions?
I'm
Sure.
sorry, when you turn to her and speak, we can't hear you.
I asked if she could recirculate the list of questions. I'm not sure I have it in my EDA file.
Thank you.
I have a question
Okay.
about the motion.
Good.
Would you want a memo of understanding first from Eric Gregory before the papers are signed? I mean, assuming we can get one from him tomorrow or the next day. I don't know what the timing is on this. I mean, and clearly everybody wants this to be successful and to continue. Nobody wants to derail this at all or delay it.
Right. Matt, I would like to speak with Eric. I've never seen that happen. It may be different here.
Well, you've got a motion and a second, so it's time for
Discussion.
discussion and then a vote.
How time sensitive is this? I mean, do we need to have this signed tonight so they can start tomorrow? Do we have 3 days, a week, a month?
You have as long as you want to take, but the longer we take, the more at risk this project is,
How so?
because they can just decide they don't need the money.
Well, I guess my question is, since you've been speaking with Eric on a regular basis, I mean, how difficult would he be to get a hold of so that, perhaps Katie could have a conversation with him tomorrow?
Yeah, I think a phone call is easy. I think
Yeah.
getting a memo out is gonna take him a few more days. But he's very responsive on the phone. If he's around, he takes a call.
Yeah, he would have been here tonight. If we asked him, he would have been.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right, any further discussion?
Well, we're voting on the motion,
Well-
so
Yeah, I mean, what exactly, are we amending the emotion or are we, and I know there's a second when we're in discussion, but are we amending that to include the memo or to include you having a conversation? Or are we basically saying yes or no to voting and signing tonight?
Question?
With the
Motion
motion,
has not been amended. at this point.
no, the motion on the floor is that we approve no, excuse me, we sign the promissory note on behalf of the E EDA.
Steve, could I ask that you consider amending that motion to make that contingent upon Katie having a phone conversation with Eric Gregory?
I'd be fine with that if that's what you'd like to recommend.
Okay, so let's state the motion again then. Sign the promissory note on behalf of EDA,
Contingent
okay?
upon the chairperson consulting with Eric Gregory Esquire.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that. Good.
Fine with that.
Okay.
But if we sign it, it's fine, right? I mean,
Well, it's contingent.
contingent, okay.
So
Okay.
my
Well,
understanding
you're
is
good with
you're
that.
Not signing the document until you have the conversation with,
That's what I was.
Right.
But you said he's very easy to reach.
he is, but these folks aren't sitting at this table with their hands up. So that's the issue is you can talk to them tomorrow, but we have to schedule another meeting. That has to be publicly, announced properly using FOIA requirements. So,
Why?
trying to look at the day of the week. Hang on, what day of the week is today?
Tuesday.
16th.
Tuesday, so I'd be able to get it published tomorrow, like Monday, but that's the council meeting. So next Tuesday would be the first we could probably get together.
Can we have it earlier on Monday? I don't know if everybody could make that. I could make it earlier on Monday.
It's a public meeting. We can post whatever time we choose.
But I'm sorry, I don't understand why we have to have a public meeting if we pass the resolution here in public session after, because it was an amended
Unless you
resolution? Is
sign
that
the
why?
document, then you can't sign it until you get the approval to sign it. Right now, you don't have the approval to sign it. You have the approval to sign it after you have your conversation with Eric. If you're gonna get together again, you're a public body, so we have to use.
That's not how I.
About that, because
I'm just telling you,
we're
that's-
approving it contingent upon Katie having a conversation with
You're gonna
Eric
get
Gregory.
together and vote. You absolutely have to publish the meeting.
Well, that's not what the motion says.
Well, the motion says that.
We will
you're gonna
sign it.
Sign it contingent on. It doesn't say that you're gonna sign it. And then she'll have a conversation with. So it's either gonna get signed tonight or it's gonna get signed probably next Tuesday.
Well, what if the papers was signed tonight and Katie held them? And again, the decision whether to release them is contingent upon her conversation with Eric Gregory.
Probably more power.
My question would be, what would?
It's convoluted, but
contingency that would preclude you from releasing them? I mean, that puts you in a.
Yeah, I
really
know.
tough
I think
spot.
that's a little
Yeah.
more power than I probably
Yeah.
have under the law. Which I don't want.
I don't know. It seems to me that they're approved contingent upon that conversation, so we're not voting on it all over again unless Katie comes up and says to us, no, there's something really wrong with these. Which I doubt. I think we just need some, talking through and some reassurance here.
which we've talked about several
Yeah.
times at every meeting.
Yeah.
And we could even ask Eric Gregory if we have to have another meeting. You could ask him, do we have to have another meeting to do it all over again?
Bill, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think? Should we not have another meeting? I don't know that you heard me. Can you hear me?
Do you ask me if we,
Yes.
I mean, I prefer not to, but I also understand and I'm, you know, would like for everybody to be on the same page with the satisfactory answer from the attorney that he is going to hopefully give you, that satisfies you. So I'll defer to you on this. I personally would like to have it signed tonight. If Matt says that by signing it tonight, or by putting in the contingency that we've added in there about you're talking with him, would mean we would have to have another meeting, then, we'll have to do that. I don't, that's a wishy-washy answer, but
Well, why don't we schedule a meeting for Monday at, I don't know, what time is the town council meetings at 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Why don't we schedule another meeting for Monday at 6 o'clock, 6:30 or something? It's just going to be very brief, so we could just
all we
meet.
have to do is convene and basically hear your comments regarding the conversation and then vote.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the earliest we could have a meeting, Matt?
Yes, 3 days.
Yeah,
Yeah, 3 days.
Okay.
okay. But I would also ask Eric, do we really need to have another meeting? Because that'll give us an answer to going forward
right.
You're
anyway.
a public body and you're gonna be
Yeah.
voting. I promise you, you'll
Okay.
get a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well,
wouldn't
there's
think of
already a
not.
town council meeting,
Okay.
so probably not that bad to
Okay.
happen now.
Okay. So we have a motion. on the-
Okay, so the motion, can you restate it, please,
Yeah.
Joyce? Thank you.
Sign the promissory note on behalf of VDA contingent upon the chairperson consulting with Eric Gregory
Right, and reporting back to the EDA
and
members.
reporting back to EDA.
Right, but
Okay.
you're not gonna sign it tonight,
Right,
so then the motion isn't to sign it tonight. The motion
Exactly.
is, should probably be pulled because you're gonna have a conversation with the attorney and then next Monday, you would make a motion to sign, assuming that your conversation with Eric went.
unless for purposes that we've discussed about how much we support the project and how valuable it is to the town and how urgent the need is of the developer, we want to really send a strong signal that we are not turning our back on the project.
Yeah, I think that's important.
So we're going to strike sign the promissory note on behalf of the EDA. How about promissory note will be signed? Does that work?
A little declarative.
Well, I mean, if your conversation doesn't go well, it won't be signed.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Promissory note will be signed contingent upon chairperson consulting with Eric Gregory and reporting back to the EDA. Do we want to include on Monday the whatever? Okay. Got it. I'm going to read it one more time, just to make sure I
Okay,
have it.
thank you.
Because this is important. Promissory note will be signed contingent upon chairperson consulting with Eric Gregory and reporting back to the EDA on Monday, whatever that is, at 6 o'clock.
Everyone okay with that?
So we've amended your motion.
Want a second?
I'll
And we
second
have a
that.
second already.
All right. Any further discussion? All the question? Mr. Dillon?
No.
Second?
No,
No,
voting.
Oh, aye.
All seconded. Good.
Yes, thank you.
Aye.
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 Unanimous.
All right. Unanimous. Great. Very good. Thank you all. Okay. Have one here.
existing project update.
Okay. I think that's you,
I
Matt.
know where we are.
Other than the project that we just talked about, there's no other.
You skipped over public. Oh, public comment.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
there we go. Public comment. Would anyone like to comment?
Madam Chairwoman and EDA and Mr. Spuck. As the person who worked with Main Street to write this grant, and who has maintained a relationship with the principals and is fluent in the language of the grant and in the handbook that we use to write the grant, I am concerned and curious about the understanding that there needs to be 20 full-time jobs coming with this. I'm not sure where that originated. It was not the grant language. The handbook says in the manual, please indicate the primary community economic impact of this project, including net new full-time and part-time jobs, not including construction jobs. That is for every project that an IRF applies for. There could be projects that they're going to be 60 full-time jobs and projects that they're going to be 5. New businesses and leverage private investment, describe the methodology used to calculate these measures. In the language of the grant, I've provided Steve and Katie, you got here late, I don't know if you got the copy, 2 places where the word 20 jobs is described. At the time, I was working with the first investors to help us give the information to put in that grant. We were going on total full-time and part-time jobs, 20. That would be housekeepers cleaning the upstairs. They're not working 35 hours a week to do that. So how this got translated into 20 full-time jobs, I'm not sure. I'm not understanding, and Matt may have already resolved this, but in this copy of this email that I know you've worked hard to make this happen, Matt, I couldn't tell who was speaking in the red and who was speaking in the black.
Neither.
It looked like your question was in red and Terry McGowan's was in black, which didn't make me understand clearly that anybody submitting a 1099, even if they did 4 hours, qualified for this, because the language is still saying full-time jobs. First of all, I want to disavow all of thinking that 20 full-time jobs were mandated by this application. And the principals should only be held to the language that was in the application, not in something that's been since imposed. So I'm concerned about that, but more importantly, an hour before this meeting, I talked to the principal and she's concerned about it and therefore has not signed the performance agreement. So I appreciate the work that's gone into trying to get this figured out, Matt. Maybe if it could be explained even better to all of us. I know another big part was whether or not they were going to be reimbursed for work they'd already done before everything got signed. And she said, the principal said that seems to be resolved. But this issue worries me. First of all, stop and think a minute. Can you think of any business in this town that has 20 full-time
Walmart and
employees?
Food Lion outside of
In
town are the only
Oeda.
ones in the entire
You said
Eastern Shore. of
Exactly. So it's kind of ridiculous in its face. But neither here nor there. So the point is that is not in the loan agreement per se, but it's in the deed of trust where it's very clearly saying the second whereas that the principal's entering into a performance agreement and is obligated to it. So I just am behooving you all to make crystal clear and sure of what you're saying on item number 4 of this performance agreement. I need it explained to me like I'm a 3rd grader, I'm afraid. Because right now, she's concerned and I'm concerned that she is still going to have to provide documentation that there are at least 20 people working 35 hours a week, whether they're working for her and she's paying them or they're working for themselves. That's how this is still reading to her. And it's part of what y'all are requiring of her. So I feel like it's my obligation, since I started this ball rolling down this hill. I know Matt took it up and he's taken the responsibility for all of the contracts. And we have not been invited to be a part of that, and that's fine. But when the contract departs from what our intention was and what the original developer intended in the language that we submitted to the state, I feel like it's my job to stand up and ask y'all to be very, very careful and thorough.
We'll find out more. Thank you for reading.
Thank you.
Can I address a couple of the comments?
Sure, that would be great.
Thank you.
First of all, the performance agreement that
I know.
was, that was crafted by DHCD at the state. That's where the 20 employees came from, not anybody here, not the language in the handbook, nothing. Came from the state. She was uncomfortable with it, which is why we added the language. An independent contractor or 1099 employee who engages in their role as a primary occupation is equivalent to 1 FTE. And Kyle just sent me an email, a text message, when I said that Janet had some concerns about she said that Ann Kyle was not happy with the language. She said, that is not what I said. I'll skip the next thing she said. She said, I am fine with the 1099 language that we talked about.
But where is the 1099 language in the
It's
performance?
in the email because
It's in the
when I
email,
sent
Matt.
When I
Yeah.
sent the email, let me finish, please. When I sent the email, DHCD added that to the contract and is sending it via DocuSign to Ann Kyle.
Okay.
That's
So
where
it's
the
going
hole
to-
is.
They're sending it as an addendum to the performance agreement?
They've adjusted the
They're amending
performance
it, sounds
agreement
like.
and they're sending it to Ann Kyle. They're the only two signatories on this.
Okay, so there's going to be a
DHCD and
revised performance agreement.
Yes.
Yes,
And it's revised with
Okay.
the sentence that's in the email.
but
That Ann Kyle is perfectly comfortable.
to Janet Foskey's point, I get it about the full-time jobs. I 20 full-time jobs, that's a lot. It might not be for the Williston building for a real estate company, but for anyone else, there's nothing around here. And I don't even think any of the restaurants have 20 full-time people in them.
No.
But it's for the whole building, right? And we talked about it before, how a real estate agent has a lot of.
Well,
independent
that's-
contractors.
Right, and
That's
this is
true.
the only deal we're talking about.
Yeah.
Anything down the road is obviously going to be part of their own performance agreement.
On page 13, Matt. I'm also confused. The black is Tori McGowan responding to some questions that you had sent previously, correct?
Yeah, mine's in all black, so I apologize.
Oh,
But
yours are in all
says,
black.
I'm glad we're getting close to this one. Your answers to questions, that's Tori. He
Okay,
said, we use 35 hours as a full-time employee equivalent. If they are contractors, I assume they'll probably have a way of tracking their time. If not, we can figure something out.
then
I
you
said-
ask.
Then I say, can we insert the phrase an independent contractor or 1099 employee who engages their role as the primary occupation is equivalent to an FTE? In the following email, he said, yeah, we can do that.
That's
Is that
what
the
I
only
didn't
change?
see.
And
Yeah.
that's when they're gonna.
So you
produce
have
the
an
document.
email from Mr. McGowan that says yes, because he doesn't answer it here.
That's correct.
Okay.
And for the record, the comment about Walmart and Food Lion, I agree that 20 FTE almost anywhere, but certainly in this region is a high bar. I mean, outside of those two places I mentioned and maybe some chicken processing plants, there are no places of employment that
Riverside.
meet that
That's a very high
requirement.
bar.
Oh, Riverside then.
How far?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, so the third grader in me, first of all, I hope I didn't say Ann Kyle was unhappy. What I meant was, she said she had not signed it yet. This still was not clear enough that she wasn't going to be responsible. I'm still not, I guess I don't understand 1099. People get 1099s for doing 5 hours for somebody. But this is
That's
saying
not
a
what the
1099 that says their role is their primary, this is their primary occupation. So if somebody is doing real estate part-time, that's not their primary occupation. So that person, but what if they are doing 2 jobs and this is not their primary occupation? That knocks them out right there as a full-time employee. So I go back to, and Matt, you said the state came back and said 20 full-time employees, but
That's the document that they sent, the template for the performance agreement.
and there was, see, I feel like if Main Street had still been involved, we would have pushed back at that moment and said, that was never our intention in the language of the grant.
So we don't have to do that anymore because the language been adjusted to the satisfaction of the signatories.
All right, if you feel like Ann Kyle's satisfied, then I'll be quiet. I'm glad you've been able to talk to
Good.
her since I did. Thank you.
Good.
I got a public comment.
Okay, come on up.
It's nothing to do with this. This has to do with your a lawyer thing. As mayor, and we've had issues with the lawyer for the town, not issues, good things. Eric's been good, but we've had trouble with communication with him. And I talked to him, Matt and I routinely talk to him, and we're probably the only people that really talk to him.
That's correct.
Yeah, and it's been an issue with some other people on the town council, but I suggest that, at your next meeting, you talk to Eric and get on the Zoom meeting with them, all of you, and talk to
Yep.
him at a Zoom meeting. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
I agree.
I
And
agree.
and then if you want to, I think that would work. But you as a body need to talk to him and not, and it's hard for one person to talk to him and relay it back to you. So I would recommend that, and we're going to try to do that more as a council, but there are a lot of little issues that come up. You don't need to do that, but a meeting, he would be glad to talk to you. He's talked to us and, he's very accommodating and, then you could decide what you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
And the second issue, the number of employees is determined by the grant application. Okay, it's different for each grant. So we're not tied to 20 people for any other project. It's whatever's in the grant. Okay, so that's not, you don't have to worry about that. I don't know what the number, for other things coming forward, but it's, it's more realistic. Yeah, obviously 20 is a bit much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so that brought us, thank you for pointing out that we passed over that spot. Let me see what's next. Public comment, town managers report.
I actually don't have one beyond.
Sorry,
Already talked
right.
about.
Okay,
Could I just say something about new opportunities? So I recognize that there are a couple of different entities in town. There's the HOS, there's OBCA, there's the town itself, and then there's the EDA, there's Main Street. And in looking, I see that there are any number of opportunities for grants and loans out there. Now, I don't know how many people are going to be willing to throw their money out on Hancock. I'd like to think a lot of them, but I don't know. But I saw one T-Mobile, they do a hometown grant program for small towns. They'll give you up to $50,000 for blah, 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 blah. So it seems to me, there's also a Federal Rural Partners Network. Then there's this Virginia, which I'm sure you know about, Virginia Grant Watch. And I'm sure that Matt knows, and he's probably already in touch with many of these. But what I'm thinking is that if the EDA, I don't know what people's conception of the EDA is. If it's just to administer this loan and possibly another loan if we get the other loan, or is it to do what it says in the state code and look to pursue further opportunities, economic opportunities for the town, which I would like to see because I think it's important. But then that begs the issue, we don't want to have different entities stepping on each other's toes. And how do we do that? And what exactly should we do? Should we all look for things and then just throw it out there and see who wants to apply for that grant, if it makes sense and doesn't make sense? Or, it seems to me that there must be some way of regularizing, that's not the right word, but, of coordinating this so that we're not all over each other and that we get the best opportunities that we can for the town, both for the businesses in the town and also the citizens of the town, because there are, there's a couple of different troughs here that we can go to. So, I don't know, Matt, if you have any ideas about that or if anybody else does.
In the near term, I'm gonna be working on ARPA projects and getting those closed up, so I have no intent of applying for any grants in the near term.
Okay, do you subscribe to that Virginia Grant Watch? I was going to put my name on there, but then I
Right.
thought I don't know if I wanted to do that if,
Subscribe to grants.gov and
Yeah.
Virginia.
so you're getting all of those.
Yeah,
Yeah. But you don't have any plans to go after anything at the
no, I
moment?
just don't have the bandwidth right now.
Okay, well, I understand that because you have a lot on your plate. And what about, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, so what about Main Street? Which is Janet's baby,
Yeah,
or
you have an expert in the audience.
OBCA, or, the FOS. I mean, I don't know, Janet, do you have any ideas about that?
Assuming that if any other IRF grants got written, it would be by you all.
Uh-huh. Well, that's the IRF grants, though.
Industrial revitalization,
Right.
there won't be the amount of money anymore available to it because the COVID money is not in it.
Right.
But right now, we are going to be going for the downtown improvement grant that's only available to Main Street because it's our ability to bring funds to an Hancock that aren't available through any other avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be about $112,000 grant if the town's willing to match. I think it's 25 or 30,000. And we're going for a tourism grant, again, that is available to us that will be a $40,000 grant if the town matches half. And we go through for that every year. Right now, that's probably the level of what we're going to do this coming year, and we'll be presenting that this coming Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect the next big thing, once the town finishes out the northeast end, is for the town to go for another community block development grant, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant. Because that's what Parks Link went for.
Yeah.
And if there hadn't been an EDA, that's what ANPDC approached Main Street to do just before COVID. And when they found out that the town was still working on the northeast end, they didn't want to have two CDBGs going at the same time. So they pulled back from offering it to us to start on. Then COVID hit.
So,
CDBG could be, but that's what Parksley got. It was like $850,000.
Yes.
To do the streetlights and,
Right.
more of what, more of the same of what you're already talking about in town council.
We reached out to,
ANPDC?
yes, and what I understood they said is, we have 900,000 currently committed to the Northeast project. Excuse me, with an additional application of 800,000. And we can apply for up to 3 million. So there's money there. Is that correct, Matt?
Well, the rules allow us to apply for up to 3 million.
Right.
Whether or not we get that or the money's there is a completely different conversation.
And that's,
We're not precluded from applying.
and that does not include ARPA funds. So we have probably 1.2 million available. However, I've been involved with the Northeast Grant for 4, maybe 5 years. They don't move quickly. So, but, starting the process is fundamental to getting, and 1.2 million is a lot of money. They said yes.
Did they?
Yes, yes.
Maybe they got a lot of money they might-
We hope so.
Well, Parksley could have done all of their streetscaping and whatever about 4 years ago through the TAP program, the Transportation Alternatives. And that through when the board, if you will, Commonwealth Transportation Board analyzed and voted on what to do with that particular project. That was one of the projects that they agreed to go forward with. It was about $1.7 million in total, but there's a 20% match. And at the 11th hour, 59th minute, Parksley did not have the match, and they did not, as a result, get the entire work done in town for that
Yeah.
particular project. And the TAP program, as a number of people know, is if you get it, they want it to spend it now. It's not like
Good.
Department of Transportation that goes out for 6 years in their 6-year plan on the big projects for smart scale.
Y'all will be helped by our new representative from Main Street being, because they'll be fluent in this and be able to tell you what we're doing. And when you're talking about overlapping
Mhm.
and understanding that, you know, that's one of the good reasons why you need a Main Street representative on the EDA.
So do we think that it would make sense at some point to have an open session with all of these agencies or all of these organizations, entities, whatever you want to call them, just to somehow strategize what we're going to do rather than sort of, because there's a lot of knowledge out there. I mean, I don't know what the TAP is. You know what that is. You know the Parksley story. I don't really know the Parksley story.
Well,
Janet has a wealth of knowledge.
referring back to Matt's concern that it just doesn't have the bandwidth now to deal with additional.
Well, I understand that he
Yeah.
doesn't, but I think it might be if we're really, except for the town is the town, but the EDA is an independent authority. Main Street is an independent organization. The Friends of the School are an independent organization. OBCA is an independent organization. If we can, coordinate amongst ourselves, that might be something that we should look at.
I think given there's so much history and so many things that have happened over the years, probably be well served to just have more informal networking for a little while and let everyone get to
Yeah.
know each other better. Because there's been so much that's been done already.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe we form some kind of informal committee in town to talk about these things or something like that. I don't know if that's
But
viable, but I don't think we
do
need to
think-
make a public session or anything like that. It doesn't.
No, but I like the idea of having some sort of a document or something that
Mhm.
coordinates, hey,
Mhm.
here are all the applications out there
Yeah.
and here's where they are, are they in play? Are they on hold? And who's responsible for each one? And to your point, I mean, if you want to go out and source grants, I think that's great.
But you
I don't
have to
think-
have funds.
Matching
To
funds.
matching funds, yeah.
Well, you
Right.
have to have funds to be able to put the grant together because somebody's got to write it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to deal with that. Then you have to think about, well, is there a match or is there no match
Hmm.
if you get the award? And then who also is going to manage or administrate whatever project comes?
Well,
So
that would,
it's a
that-
yeah.
combination of
All
It is
these
a
things would be
combination.
listed on the document the way, I mean, I hear what you're saying, the way I think you're envisioning it.
Maybe there's a community college student or something who would like to take that on as a project. I don't know if you've all ever done that, but we've had great luck with student interns doing research like that.
I'm sure
Nice,
Dr.
like-
Schaefer would be happy to talk with us about it.
Yeah. Okay, anything more? All right.
Are we at board member comments? Is that
Oh,
where
we're
we
still
are?
on board minute.
Okay.
Another comment? Okay.
Yeah, in the bylaws,
Mhm.
which are the last documents here.
Mhm.
On page 24, the secretary will prepare and disseminate all agendas and minutes, blah, blah, blah. Then on page 25, it says the agenda will be prepared by the secretary in consultation with the chair. Seems like we're saying one thing and then we're saying something different to me, but maybe that's just the way I'm reading it.
It's just, I think the dissemination was done a little differently, right?
Prepare and disseminate.
Yeah. Right.
And then it says
I know Matt shared it with us.
prepared by the secretary in consultation with the chair.
Mhm.
So you're comfortable with that? Saying one thing on page 24 and then another on page 25?
Could possibly do that differently, or we could clarify that to be that it's manager or
So
whatever.
let me ask
Yeah.
a direct question. Will you be preparing the agenda?
We decided that at the last meeting that I would not. But it says on page
That's what it says.
25 in our bylaws that it will be prepared by the secretary in consultation with the chair. And Katie and I think at that point agreed that we were comfortable with that.
So
So we'll-
what we did this past
Right.
month, I sent you guys a,
Yeah.
you know, a mock-up. And you come back and say, like you had asked, please add the bylaws to the end, and.
Right.
We were able to do that. So that's sort of where we'll go. I just want to make sure I'm not stepping on toes or doing something I don't need to do, to be honest.
Oh, thank you for doing that.
Well, I would like to follow the guidelines on page 25 for our agendas. If everybody's comfortable with that. Are you, Matt?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're
Yeah.
gonna prepare it and consult with the chair, I don't have to do anything. Which
Right,
doesn't
get around
normally
it.
make a lot of sense. So, I'm the one with the day-to-day operations knowledge of this,
Right.
so,
Katie?
Let's just,
Karen.
sorry. I don't care.
So we're going to keep it the way it is?
To me, it's saying one thing and then it says another thing, so I don't know. I guess my concern is because I'm the secretary.
yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
How about if you change section 6, the secretary will cause to for the agenda and all minutes to be prepared and disseminated, because that doesn't say that the secretary will do it, but the secretary will cause it to be done.
What are you looking at?
24.
Hmm.
What
Then you
I'm
can
saying is I just don't want to be responsible for preparing and disseminating all agendas.
No, you're not.
No.
You will cause to be prepared and disseminated.
Okay.
Okay,
Either that I can prepare them and send them your way, and then
Right.
you can, have the.
you can send it as a
editorial
draft, and you
privilege,
can
and then
approve
we'll
it.
Move
Yep.
on from there.
That will be adequate, I think.
All right.
Okay, that's smart,
And
Matt.
cause for all agendas and minutes to be disseminated.
Thank you.
Hanging around attorneys too much.
All right, anything else? All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Call the motion. Mr.
Aye.
Chandler. Mr.
Aye.
Dillon.
Hi.
I'm still
Bye,
here.
Bill.
Marino.
Wherever you are.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, we're adjourned.
Very
I vote
cold
aye.
here.
Yes, it's definitely warmer there than here. Tomorrow's going to be a high of 32.
It's a chilly 70 degrees.
Oh.
We're
Look at the sweater he's got.
suffering with you.
All right, so I'll see you guys when? Next Monday, right?
Yes.
Next Monday at 6.
6.
And Matt, you'll send me the same thing you did today?
Yes, sir.
Great.
You may have
I'm
to
right in technology here, so.
Hey, you did great,
Did
though.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
really.
congratulations.
Yeah. All right.
All I can
All right,
say is you
thank
look
you.
Take care, Bill.
much
All right.
better in a non-full face.
Oh, no.